of Madao Police Section from the Warri Division Command. They are asking the House to intervene. Mr. Speaker, with your due permission, I have the petition here, and I beg your diligence to allow me to lay the petition before the House, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead and lay a petition. Petition referred to Committee on Public Petition of the House. Yes, Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Honorable colleagues. I am Kiru Kaonye George. I represent the good people of Isukwatu Munoj Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, Honorable colleagues, I seek the leave of the House to come under Order 8, Rule 4, Subsection 1, on matter of urgent public importance, and for the House to give me an opportunity to take it immediately. The matter of urgent public importance is an urgent call for a more encompassing approach to the implementation of better education service delivery for all, which is BESDA program in Nigeria. I so move.
Respect honorable colleague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Taiwo Oluga. I represent all the people of Irewole Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Osun State. I rise to second the motion as moved by the Deputy Chief Whip of the House. I so second. And I second that we set aside the motion, our rules to take the motion now.
Did she move for that? Okay. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Go ahead and present your motion.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable colleagues, I am Kiru Kaonye George. I represent the good people of Isukwatu Munoj Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. The House notes that by this matter of urgent public importance on the urgent call for a more encompassing approach to the implementation of better education service delivery for all, BESDA program in Nigeria. The House notes that by the combined effect of Section 18, subsection 3A of the 1999 Constitution and Section 2, subsection 1 of the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act, UBE 2004.
Mr. Speaker, I'm coming under Order 8, Rule 3. Mr. Speaker, in view of the fact that there is no urgency in what if
If the claim is allowed by the Speaker and the leave of the House is given by a majority of all members present, the matter shall stand over till the next legislative day. There is no urgency in what she's presenting. We can take it on Tuesday.
Pardon to the General of the House, and in the point of order you raised, he said if it is allowed by the leave of the House, and the House have already granted, so you can. They have agreed. So I want to rule you out of order. you have been ruled out of.
Mr. Speaker, I am still coming. Our rule, the way you even suspended the rules, Mr. Speaker, is not in order, sir. Yes, sir. You suspended the rule without following the due procedure of suspending the rule.
I don't know the due procedure.
Can I go ahead, sir, to guide the House, sir? No rule shall be suspended except by a vote of two-thirds majority of the members voting, a quorum being present. When a motion to suspend the rule has been submitted to the House, it shall be in the order before the final vote is taken thereon to debate the motion to be voted upon for 20 minutes. One half of such time to be given to debate in opposition to such proposition, and the same right of debate shall be allowed for arguments in favor.
I'm still insisting that, excuse me, sir, that when she raised a point of order and came up with two prayers, her first prayer is that this matter be considered as urgent. The second prayer was that the rules of the House be suspended for her to enable her to take, which had been the constant tradition of this House. When we come like this, it is now left for the House to accept, and that was why one Honorable Oluga seconded to say the first and second I asked. Did she ask that in her prayers? And it was in the affirmative. In light of that, we allowed the question, and the question was put, and the House approved. We have followed every procedure. Let us not be seen as misleading. No, we have followed every procedure as far as this matter is concerned, and that the House has approved. It means then it is not just the opinion of the Speaker, but also the opinion of the House. Thank you. Further to it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for yielding this opportunity to me. I am most grateful. Matter of urgent public importance is on urgent call for a more encompassing approach to the implementation of better education service delivery for all, which is called BESDA program in Nigeria. The House notes that by the combined effect of Section 18, subsection 3A of the 1999 Constitution and Section 2, subsection 1 of the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act, UBE 2004, the right to free and compulsory primary education and free junior secondary education for all qualified Nigerian citizens are guaranteed and enforceable rights in Nigeria. The House further notes that this enforceable constitutional right to free and compulsory universal basic education has also been given judicial impetus by the Federal High Court, Abuja, wherein the court declared that the federal and state governments have constitutional duties to provide adequate funds for the said free and compulsory education, warning that failure to respect the ruling will constitute a breach of the Nigerian Constitution. The House recalls that the federal government, being aware of its responsibilities and in order to provide basic, compulsory and free universal basic education for the Nigerian child, established what is called...
Mazul, approach the chair.
The House recalls that the federal government, being aware of its responsibilities and in order to provide basic, compulsory and free universal basic education for the Nigerian child, established what is called Better Education Service Delivery for All, BESDA program with the aim aforesaid. The House further recalls that the Better Education Service Delivery for All program has also attracted interest of the World Bank, which have provided loans for the full implementation of the program. The House is aware that the Honorable Minister of Education for State, the Honorable Minister of Education states Chief Chukwuemeka Majuba recently launched the Better Education Service Delivery for All program in Yola, Adamawa State. The House is further aware that at the launching of the program, the Honorable Minister of Education Chukwuemeka informed the public that the federal government has secured a World Bank loan of 220 billion naira for implementation of better education service delivery for all, and that the program will be restricted to 17 states. The House is worried that the implications of this restriction goes against the wordings, letters and spirit of Nigerian Constitution. Various legislations as well as judicial pronouncements which guarantees the right to free and compulsory primary education and free junior secondary education for all Nigerian children. The House is further worried that by restricting the implementation of better education service delivery for all, BESA program, to 17 states, the Federal Ministry of Education is working at cross purposes with the very program which key ingredient is delivery for all and not for a selected few states. The House regrets that despite the federal government interest in curbing the menace of out-of-school children, every state in Nigeria still has a sizable number of out-of-school children roaming the streets. The House believes that only a holistic approach to curbing this menace will bring a meaningful impact to the implementation of better education service delivery for all program, and that a piecemeal approach is bound to fail, which also is in breach of our Constitution. The House resolved, number one, to commend the federal government of Nigeria for initiating the Better Education Service Delivery for All to address the sorry state of out-of-school children all over the country. Number two, the House directs the Federal Ministry of Education to begin a holistic implementation of the program in all states of the Federation instead of the selective, inefficient approach it currently adopts. And finally, the House mandates the House Committee on Universal Basic Education to ensure implementation. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder is my brother from Akwa Ibom.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, my name is Idem Unyume, member representing Ukanafun Uruwanam Federal Constituency in Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I rise this morning to second the motion as heavily moved by the Deputy Chief Whip. I so second.
Maybe we'll give you 30 seconds to give us the synopsis because the motion is quite very elaborate.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, thank you so much. What I am asking, number one, is in the prayers that I commend the federal government for that initiative, because the federal government has seen the need for education for all, and that's why they brought out this particular program that is called BESDA program, which is Better Education Service Delivery for All Nigerian Children. So that says it all. And so I am asking that it is in line with the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is also in line with the 2004 Act for compulsory free universal basic education for all Nigerian children. So it is in tandem with our constitution and with the act that established free compulsory education. I'm just asking that instead of doing it in 17 states, let us take all the states, because 220 billion naira is huge. It can do much. The 17 states that they want to start with may have more number than the other states. But what I'm asking is that we should obey the constitution and take it for all Nigerian states and all Nigerian children, so that the program will achieve its objective. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, that's what I'm asking, and I so submit.
And to contribute, I thought it's a very simple motion. Is it the opinion of the House that will put the question? You want to comment? Comment or add value to it? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. I represent local Kwani Federal Constituency of Delta State. Mr. Speaker, there's no person that will see this motion that really will not be glad. But in the first place, Mr. Speaker, it is the duty. The federal government is mandated and to implement the operational compass of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is the Constitution, as quoted by the mover of this motion, Section 18 of the Constitution. It binds the federal government to initiate such policies. So commending them when they have not started the program shouldn't be part of this motion. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, we were voted in to implement the Constitution of the Federal Republic, and that is what the federal government is doing today. And we want to see it going before we make such comment. Now, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, the 200 and something billion that has been taken from the World Bank does not pass through this House. Now, the House must be able to know how those monies were taken. The House will be able to know to budget such money. Because a situation where we continue to encourage usage of Nigerians' money without passage of this honorable House call to a question. We are just hearing now that the federal government has borrowed money without passing through due process. And Mr. Speaker, what are we really doing in this House? If now the National Assembly have the pulse of the Federation in terms of appropriation, it then means more money can be voted into Nigerian government system without passing through this House. It then means that is what I call usurpation of power by the executive, and I also call it executive imperialism on the legislature. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, now if we are going to question the issue of money that is being taken to implement this policy, and we are commending already, and the money didn't pass through the House, I believe that, and that's my reason why I am saying that that particular prayer should be deleted. That particular prayer, the first prayer, should be deleted. The second prayer, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, because it is the duty of the federal government to set up a policy that governs the education of our country. It's in the exclusive list. That is the duty of the federal government, setting up a proper policy for the federation. Agreeable. And I want to also praise the Deputy Chief Whip for bringing this motion. So in praising him, Mr. Speaker, I believe the House have a duty to input as another prayer that the federal government should show the reason why the House will allow such policies to continue with the borrows of money without passing through the House or the National Assembly of this country. I think that's my contribution, Mr. Speaker. One, the prayer 1 should be deleted. Prayer 2 should be allowed. Prayer 3 should be allowed.
Thank you very much. First, as an experienced legislator, you know that you cannot come to delete a prayer of a motion through contribution on the floor of the House. you can only move a motion officially seeking for the deletion of the motion of the prayer. Secondly, I think we should be a little bit appreciative of good effort. Of course, over the years, this provision in the Constitution has been there from 1999 to date. And some people who are in government, unfortunately, they didn't find it worthy to implement that very particular provision. As for me, I will say kudos to the federal government of Nigeria for implementing this very particular laudable provision. In the light of that, I would like to move the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Motion referred to. Order. Yes. Point of yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my honorable colleagues. I am Honorable Ferdinand Dozie-Nwankwo, and I represent the good people of Njikoka and Ocha, Dunukofia Federal Constituency, and from Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, permit me to come under Order 824, subsection 1 of the Order of Public National Importance of a need for the House to investigate the alleged use of paracetamol to standardize meat and bleach to process cassava in Osun State and across the Federation. I therefore ask the House to suspend all relevant rules for me to take this very important, very
honorable colleague, let's avoid the pitfall. I will urge that we take seconder first for this first leg. Yes, Galadima.
Mr. Speaker, my distinguished honorable colleagues, I remain Zakaria O. Muhammad Galadima, a member representing the people of Bada Jakusko. I am from Yobe State. I stand to second the motion as ably moved by my colleague, Honorable Dozie. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. I put the question again. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. No. We are going to take the second leg. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ferdinand Dozie-Nwankwo, member representing the good people of Njikoka and Ocha, Dunukofia Federal Constituency, and from Anambra State. I move for the House to suspend all the relevant rules for me to take this very good motion. I so move.
What are the relevant rules? You are supposed to. Thank you. Seconder. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. My very dear colleagues, my name is Uchuchukwu Namobi, and I represent the good people of Ahado West and Oba Ibeman, 20 Federal Constituency of River State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the second prong of the motion that the matter be heard now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In favor of the motion, say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Yes, the lady can go ahead and present your motion.
The House notes with dismay the revelation by Osun State government officials that some caterers and food vendors in the state have been using paracetamol and bleach to tenderize meat and process cassava. The House is also aware that high dosage of paracetamol come from with toxicity that may lead to kidney and renal failures, while the use of bleach to process cassava for garri is simply food poisoning. The House is also concerned about the extent of damage this criminal act has had on vital organs of the consumers, which include kidney, liver, heart, and small intestine. The House is also worried that such illicit acts in Osun State and other states may have been going on for years without the relevant government agencies doing much to stem it and bring the culprits to book to serve as deterrents to others. Disturbed that such food vendors and caterers are deliberately and viciously destroying their consumers by employing such selfish and unhealthy practice to prepare food. The House resolved to mandate NAFDAC and other relevant bodies to urgently embark on widespread sensitization and public awareness against the consumption of food tenderized and processed with bleach and paracetamol. Mandate NAFDAC and the other relevant government bodies to arrest and prosecute all offenders of this provision to serve as deterrent while helping to curtail the continuous preparation of such criminal against humanity. Urge the Ministry of Health, NAFDAC and stakeholders in the industry to develop a blueprint that will ensure constant and regular monitoring and supervision of food vendors and processors to avoid recurrence. Mandate the House Committee on Healthcare Services to liaise with the NAFDAC and Ministry of Health to engage all relevant government agencies charged with supervision and monitoring of public food and services with view to investigating the revelation in Osun, Delta, and other states of the Federation and report back to the House within 8 weeks for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder. Yes, Kabir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Kabir Idris, member representing...
Order, please. Order, please.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this very important motion raised by my honorable colleagues. I so support, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Thank you. Which debate? Yeah, it's very clear motion now. Thank you. We still have two more persons that have applied. They are seeking the leave of the House to suspend our rules so that we can allow them to take the additional.
Sir, our rules has limited us to only two, sir. We cannot, we have been limited because there is no room for any maneuver, Mr. Speaker, sir. There is no room for any maneuver. We'll be limited to only two.
Even last week, with the Speaker yesterday.
Yeah. Chairman Business, I think you are supposed to assist us. And I so much agree that we should take two. But where the issues are, there is one that has to do with killings of Nigerians in his own constituency. And that is quite very urgent as far as I'm concerned. That's why I'm appealing to you to seek the leave. That if they approve, fine. If they don't approve, we'll move forward.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Hello? Point of order on the Speaker or on the... I don't know.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Abubakar Fulata. I represent Bruniwa, Speaker Samba, Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House to suspend the extant provisions of Order 8, Rule 8, Rule 2, to enable us to take more matters of urgent national importance. And so,
Seconder Namdas.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Abdurazak Namdas. I represent the people of Ganye Jada Tongoma Ebelo. I am from Adamawa State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the suspension as moved by Chairman Rus. I so second.
Suspension of our rules, I think so. So that the voice and proceeding will capture well. Thank you. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Yes. Yep. Honorable, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Honorable Ben Roland Igbapa. I represent Ethiopia East, Ethiopia West. By the special grace of God, we are from Delta State. Mr. Speaker, I come under 8, having been suspended by our able chairman rules of business. I want to move that the House allow me to bring in another matter of urgent public importance by suspending our various rules. I beg to move, Mr. Speaker.
What I expect you to do is to introduce your subject matter because the rules have already been suspended.
The matter is on a almost collapsed bridge in my constituency that is already taking life. And it's the talk of the town in Delta State. I want to bring it to the floor because that is the minimum that we can do for them, Mr. Speaker, to avoid more loss of life. That is the essence of the motion.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, Francis Ejirogene Waive is my name. I represent the entire people of Ugele North, Ugele South, Udu. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Delta State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my neighbor at home over the bridge that is collapsing on the Bilisa-Ple Road. Mr. Speaker, I so second.
I don't know, Honorable Francis, are you properly dressed?
This is the ultimate in terms of addressing for the people of the Niger Delta. The heart is there, Mr. Speaker, and my goodness, the National Assembly is a beautiful place, Mr. Speaker, and I add to that beauty the Urobo people of the Niger Delta.
I thought the wrapper is supposed to be tied around your waist, not holding by the hand. Thank you. Honorable, you may go ahead and those in favor of the motion that the matter is urgent be taken now, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Go ahead and present your motion, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a motion on the need to undertake an urgent repair of the Ogara-Mosoga Bridge to forestall imminent collapse. This motion is co-sponsored by Honorable Godwin Ndudi Elubelu, Honorable Nicholas Osai, Honorable Ife Afe, Honorable Francis Waive, and Honorable Thomas Erietomi. The House knows that the Ogara-Mosoga Bridge, situated at Ethiopia West Local Government of Delta State, is the major route from Benin, Ogara, Sapele, Warri axis linking to the popular East-West Road from Warri. It is an iconic link between Ogara, Benin, Mosoga, Warri, Asaba, and even Lagos. Informed that the present state of the Ogara-Mosoga Bridge is one that requires urgent attention, as the bridge has visibly seen cracks and structural damages, including the expansion joints on the bridge. Aware that the dilapidated state of the bridge has claimed many lives, including that of 5 public school principals, Air Force chief, and others due to failed portion of the road. Disturbed that it is disheartening, for months this bridge has almost divided, but no one seems to care, even as millions of people ply the bridge on a daily basis, and through the special intervention from God, they pass safely. Cognizant that this federal road has been a safe haven for commuters over the years, as various commercial companies, government officials, and private individuals apply this bridge without hitch, believes that as heavy-duty vehicles, commercial buses, cars, and tricycles pass through the bridge on a daily basis, even on its current state,
there is palpable fear that there is a matter of time before the bridge finally collapses. Concern that many commuters have reported that the Ogara-Mosuga bridge is vibrating noticeably as the seemingly shaky joint poses serious structural danger to the bridge, to the effect that it is very unsafe to use the bridge as it is now, therefore indicating that the integrity of the bridge is no longer intact. Alarm that if the visibly shaken bridge and structural damages, including the expansion joints of the bridge, are not repaired immediately, which especially this dry season, the entire South-South Midwest zone, which the Ogara Bridge connects, will be cut off from other parts of the country and will occasion several deaths and accidents on curious commuters using the bridge in its present dilapidated state, especially strangers. Worry that if the test on the expansion joint, otherwise called static and dynamic load test, is carried out to check the functionality of the bridge, it will show that a number of expansion joints are due for replacement. In fact, the expansion joints to be replaced are part of irregular bridge maintenance that has been neglected for decades. Resolved to mandate the Federal Ministry of Works and the Federal Road Maintenance Agency to undertake urgent repairs and maintenance of the Ogara-Mosuga bridge to forestall imminent collapse, which will cost more in such situation. Or the Federal Road Safety Commission Corps to deploy its personnel to Ogara-Mosuga bridge to ensure that the safe use of the dilapidated bridge pending the intervention of the relevant government agency. Urge the Nigerian police to provide adequate security in the affected area of the bridge to avoid hoodlums cashing in on the situation to harass users. Direct the House Committee on Works to ensure timely compliance of this request, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move.
Respected colleagues, this is an infrastructure motion. So, if we have a seconder, we'll go ahead to put the question. Seconder, yes, leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndodi Godwin Elimelu, and I represent the good people of Anyocha Oshimili Federal Constituency. I'm proudly from Delta State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my brother and my colleague, Honorable Bernard Ibapa. I so second.
As earlier explained, this is an infrastructure-related motion, so I now put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's it. Motion referred to the relevant committees of the House for compliance. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Uko Ndukwenkole. I represent Aruchiku Ohafia Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, permit me to come under Order 8 Rule 4 to present this matter of urgent national importance. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the matter is on the need for the President and Commander-in-Chief to immediately deploy armed forces to issue beachline boundary in Aruchiku Federal Community. This is as a result of escalating interstate boundary clashes that have left several persons dead. And as I speak to you, Mr. Speaker, today, about 83 AUA women is missing as we speak as a result of this clash. Honorable colleagues, I plead that this matter is urgent, that you enable me to take the matter to address the situation. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Seconder Ari. Honorable Ari.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Ari Mohammed Abdul Mumin. I represent Nasarawa Toto Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by my right colleague. I so concern.
Those in favor of the motion that the matter be considered as urgent, they can now say aye. Those against say nay. I now take the question again. Those in favor of the motion that the matter is urgent and should be considered now, say aye. Those against say nay. That is it. So go ahead and present your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the House notes that the violent communal conflicts have become perhaps the singular deadliest threat to Nigerian national security. Also notes that apart from the wanton loss of lives, property, and massive displacement of persons, there is a resultant destruct among communities that is a grave threat to national unity and loss of confidence in social institutions. Saddened that between Sunday, February 2nd, and up till this moment as I speak, that there are communal clashes that have erupted in the Isu Beach Line boundary community in Aruchukwu local government, area of Abia State, which has its boundary with Otoma across River State, in which the Otoma attacked the Isu Beach Line communities of Ihus, Aba, and Amachi. The stress that this clash has left many dead, with 3 villages along the Isu Beach Line boundary completely razed down, resulting in the displacement of members of the community. Concerned that there is an urgent need to bring this conflict to an immediate halt, as the killings, destructions of property, displacements, and material suffering constitute crimes against humanity and are already in genocidal proportions and should not be allowed to further deteriorate. Equally concerned that the further attacks must be prevented so that the people of the community will not, out of helplessness and frustration, be forced to employ every means necessary to defend themselves, such that the situation will completely deteriorate. Cognizant that under Section 217, Section 2C of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, this National Assembly has a fundamental role to play in recommending the deployment of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for acting in aid of civil authorities to restore order. Determined that every effort must be made to save the Isu people from these needless and brutal killings and unnecessary destruction of property, and that this incident should be the last of its kind. Resolved to urge the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to, as a matter of urgency, use his good office to immediately and without further delay deploy the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to Isu Beach Line boundary community in Aruchukwu local government area of Abia State to restore lasting peace and order in the communities, and also to temporarily take over the disputed portion pending when a proper delineation is carried out by National Boundaries Commission. B. Also urge the National Emergency Management Agency to immediately and without further delay deploy relief materials, including medical supplies, to these communities, in addition to medical and health personnel to treat the wounded. Further urge the National Boundaries Commission to immediately and without further delay clearly and unambiguously demarcate and define the boundaries of both communities to avoid further clashes. Mandate the committees on police, defense, national security and intelligence, and legislative compliance to coordinate the implementation and attainment of the above resolutions with the Presidency, the National Emergency Management Agency, the National Boundaries Commission, and report back within 2 weeks. And observe a minute silence in honor of the deceased. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I so move. Thank you so much.
Seconder. Yes. Balsa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Agbedi Yetemune Frederick is my name. I represent Sabama Kirima Federal Constituency. Izonkeme, I'm from Bayelsa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion as ably moved by my colleague, Honorable Nkoli. I so second.
Respected colleagues, this is a disaster amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am Uchichuku Namobi, and I represent the good people of Ahodo West and Oba Ibema and Johnny Federal constituents and from River State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to amend the first prayer where he called on the armed forces, on the president, to deploy armed forces to the people, just so that they know that it's not an occupation one, and to also call on the police, so that the police, whose primary responsibility, and as a police force that closer to the people, they need to be alive to their duties, just so that it's included as part of the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What are you asking? Deleting prayer 1? What is the amendment exactly? Thank you. Seconder to the amendment. Yes, Honorable Dozie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Ferdinand Dozie Nwankwo, member representing the group of Njikoka and Ocha Dunukofe Federal Constituency and from Anambra State. I rise to second the seconder of the amendments, heavily moved by my colleague, Honorable Namobi. As your second.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Those in favor of the amendment, the motion as amended say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Motion referred to the relevant committees of the House. Yes, Honorable Jega, finally.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My honorable colleagues, Mohamed Umar Jega, representing Alero Gondo Jega Federal Constituency. I'm from Kebbi State. Honorable Speaker, with the suspension of our rules, no, it has already been suspended, so I'm coming under that. My motion is urgent need to address recent outbreak of farm disease in several communities of my constituency. Urgent need to address farm outbreak, strange farm outbreak in several farming communities of Gondu, Jega, Aleru, Federal Constituency of Kebbi State. I so move.
Honorable Killer, seconder.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Yuguda Hassan Kela. I represent Guaram Federal Constituency. Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I am from Jigawa State. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by my friend, Honorable Jiga. I so second. Thank you.
Respected colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the matter be considered as urgent, say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Go ahead and present your motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, my honorable colleagues. The motion is on the urgent need to address recent outbreak of farm disease in several farming communities of Gondu, Aleru, Jega Federal Constituency of Kebbi State. The House notes that onion farming is a major source of income for farmers in Jega, Aleru, Gondu, Federal Constituency. Further note that the quantity of onion cultivated by the farmers in this constituency has positioned the farming communities as the biggest onion farming communities in the whole of West Africa. Aware that so many people of Gondu, Aleru, Gondu, Federal Constituency of Kebbi State depend on onion farming and trading in the product for their livelihood. Further aware that since 2019, there has been a sudden outbreak of fungal disease
which has afflicted onion cultivated in the farming communities, which experts have identified as purple blotch, commonly known in Hausa language as Endozola. This disease has ravaged large hectares of farmland, destroying onion cultivated in the area with the consequential loss of huge amount of revenue. Worried that the conservative estimate of monetary losses suffered by farmers as a result of this disease is over 1.2 billion, as a disease has ravaged over 5,000 hectares of farmland, with over 6,000 onion farmers affected. Further worried that the overwhelming losses suffered by the farmers has rendered the entire farming community penurious, a situation which, if not urgently addressed, can lead to breakdown of law and order. Observe that farmers, traders, and other stakeholders are already visibly overwhelmed in their efforts to ameliorate their condition and in their determination to address the outbreak of the disease. Further observe that it is the primary constitutional responsibility of the federal government of Nigeria to provide for the security and welfare of the people of this country as a whole, and those in Gondo, Alarijega Federal Constituency of Kebbi State. Convinced that there is urgent need for federal intervention if the situation has completely overwhelmed the capacity of affected farmers, farming communities, and the government at the local and the state level. Further convinced that the federal intervention will give practical demonstration to the federal government primary constitutional responsibility to the people of affected communities and foster a breakdown of law and order in the area. The House is invited to resolve to call on the Minister responsible for agriculture to immediately deploy experts to the communities in order to tackle the disease outbreak. 2, relevant government agencies, including the Federal Ministry of Finance, Central Bank, National Emergency Management Agency, to immediately respond to the huge financial losses resulting from the disease outbreak in order to provide succor to those people affected. 3, any other immediate action which the federal government of Nigeria can take to improve the living conditions of the onion communities in Gondu, Alarijega Federal Constituency. 4, mandate the Committee on Agricultural Production and Services, Committee on Banking and Currency, Committee on Emergency and Disaster Preparedness, and Committee on Legislative Compliance to ensure implementation. I so move, my Honourable Speaker.
Konda. One, I will not allow you to speak because you are not on your seat. Thank you. Yes, Sokoto.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm Honorable Larabisho Kakali, member representing the Ngeshuni Bodinga Traitor. I'm from Sokoto, Bernisha, the largest producer of onions in this country. I stand to second the motion, sir, because of its urgent importance to the lives of our people in this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Respected colleagues, this is a disaster-related motion. So in view of that, I put a question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Motion referred to Committee on Agriculture as read in the motion. Yes. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, I stand on under 8, Rule 4. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Urgent need to save souls in Etekwu community in Ohajeboma, Oguta, Ohajeboma local government of Imo State from whose damages caused by fire outbreak of 4th February 2020 and to investigate the immediate causes of the inferno that was linked to oil pipeline explosion. Knows that Etekwu Autonomous Community is a community in Ohajeboma local government of Imo State. It's one of the major oil producing communities of Imo State. Knows further that oil pipelines run across different parts of the Etekwu community. As such, the community is exposed to hazards of oil exploration activities, including pipeline explosion. Informed that on Tuesday, 4th February 2020, a serious fire outbreak occurred at Etekwu community, affecting a large expanse of houses, farmlands, and agricultural plantations, put most of the indigenous and inhabitants of Etekwu community and other 20 communities like Umudike, Asa, Obile, Umoji, Ekuba, Mbara, Oforola, Obokofia, Opete, and about 3 communities in River State, Okuzi, Mbede, and Aga, into homeless and potential hunger arising from the destruction of farmlands. Informs further that preliminary information received from the community has it that the disastrous inferno emanated from the oil pipeline and is suspected to have been caused by oil pipeline explosion. Sorry. This is believed to be a panacea to forestalling, the stop that the bureaucratic bottleneck associated with the national emergency in the discharge of its statutory responsibility has continued to be a claw in the wheels of ensuring that the victims of disasters of this nature receive prompt attention to reduce their suffering. Believes that the panacea to forestalling further occurrences is to be constantly monitoring the oil companies on the regulatory compliance with replacement of aged pipelines and the provisions adequate surveillance security of oil pipelines to curb both natural and artificial explosions of oil pipelines. Results to cause detailed investigation into remote and immediate cause of the fire explosion. Mandate the NEMA to urgently mobilize relief material and other health needs to affected communities as listed. Mandate the regulatory agencies of the environment like NOSRA to commence actions in the cleanup of the environment as well as determine through investigations whether the fire explosions was natural or artificial in relation to crude oil pipelines. Mandate the Committee on Environment, Petroleum Upstream and Emergencies and Disasters to jointly investigate explosion as a chain the degree of the devastations and report back to the House within 21 days. As such, other legislative actions or decisions which in the consideration and approval of this House would engender the happiness, fulfillment, as well as well-being of the affected communities of other states in Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I so move.
Seconder. Yep. Yes, distinguished honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues. My name is Honorable Ifeanyi Chudimoma. I represent the wonderful people of Ihia Federal Constituency. I'm from Anambra State. I rise to second the motion on urgent public importance moved by my colleague. I so second. Thank you.
Fellow colleagues, I think all we need to do is put the question because this is again a disaster-related motion. So those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Motion referred to the relevant committees of the House. Respected colleagues, Honorable members, the first business of the day is possession of 12 bills. I will now invite the clerk to read their short titles. The clerk.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Central Bank of Nigeria Act Amendment Bill 2020 first reading. Petroleum Product Pricing Regulatory Agency Act Amendment Bill 2020 first reading. Nigerian Council for Social Work Establishment Bill 2020 first reading. Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2020 first reading. National Power Training Institute of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2020 first reading. National Directorate of Employment Act Amendment Bill 2020 first reading. National Polytechnics Regulatory Commission Amendment Bill 2020 first reading. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Act Amendment Bill 2020 first reading. National Population Commission Act Amendment Bill 2020 first reading. National Boundary Commission Task Force Establishment Bill 2020 first reading. Federal University of Agriculture Technology Establishment Bill 2020 first reading. Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1919 Alteration Bill 2020 first reading.
The first order of the day is consolidation of two bills. All members may wish to note that the bills are in the names on the subject matter. I now invite the Chairman Committee on Rules and Business to move for the bills to be consolidated.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Abubakar Sanfulata. I represent Berniwa, Kilikasama, Bidi Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker, from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, I move for the consolidation of a bill for an act to amend the Council for Regulation of Freight and Forwarding in Nigeria Act, Chapter C-54, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria and for related matters, HB 176, and a bill for an act to amend the Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria Act, Chapter C-54, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria and for related matters, HB 604. I so move.
Seconder. Yes, Honorable Engineer Udin.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. My name is Honorable Engineer Muhammad Ali Udin. I rise to second the motion for the consolidation of the two bills raised by the Chairman Rules of Business, Right Honorable Dr. Plata, Hassan Obakar Plata. I so move. I so second. Thank you, sir.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, Rules and Business, please schedule a date for the commencement of the debate on the general principle of the bills. Respected colleagues, the second order of the day is the third reading of a bill for an act to repeal the Raw Material Research and Development Council Act, Cap. Act 3 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Raw Material Research and Development Council Bill and for related matters. All members would recall that the House adopted the report of the Committee of the Whole on the bill on Friday, 20th December 2019. I therefore call on the Leader of the House to move that the bill be now read the third time. Leader.
Mr. Speaker, and my distinguished colleagues, I am Comrade Peter Ohionzojia practicing MNI. Mr. Speaker, I move that a bill for an act to repeal the Raw Materials Research and Development Council Act, Cap. R3, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 204, and to enact the Raw Material Research and Development Council Bill and for related matters, HB 47, be read for the third time. And so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder, whip.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marche Monguno Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I second the motion for the third reading of the bill as moved by the leader of the House.
Motion now, those in favor of the motion that bill be read third time say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Clerk, you are invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the bill for now to repeat the Raw Material Research and Development Council Act, Chapter R3, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and to enact the Raw Material Research and Development Council Bill for related matters, third reading.
Read the third time and pass. Respected colleagues, the third order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to repeal the Commodity Board Act Cap C follows the Federation of Nigeria 2004 and enact the Commodity and Grains Board as a body corporate to promote, regulate, and subsidize the production, exportation of such commodities and grains and for related matters standing in the name of Honorable Mohamed Tahir Monguno. All members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 23rd July 2019, I now invite Honorable Monguno to move that the bill be read the second time. Honorable Tahir Monguno, you have the floor.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marche Monguno Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. I hereby move for the second reading of a bill for an act to repeal the Commodity Board Act, Cap 3 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Commodity and Grain Board as a body corporate to promote, regulate, and standardize the production, exportation of such commodities and grains, and for related matters be read the second time. I so move.
Seconder, Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the Secretary of Police, I remain Honorable Abubakar Yakusada. I represent Kankia Kusada and Federal Constituency, Mr. Speaker, I'm from Katana State. I rise to second the motion heavily moved by the whip of the Honorable House, Honorable Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I say second, sir.
Honorable Monguno, please lead the debate.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I remain Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marche Monguno Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. Honorable members, the genesis for the sponsorship of this bill is purely triggered as a result of the zeal, determination, and enthusiasm displayed by this government towards the diversification of the Nigerian economy away from oil to agriculture, especially against the backdrop of the fact that oil is a wasting asset and there will be no oil one day, and therefore there is need to diversify the economy away from oil to agriculture. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, all of us here will recall with great sense of nostalgia the days of the commodity boards, where we have the cotton board, we have the groundnut board, we have the palm oil board, we have the cocoa board, and what have you. But these boards, the operation of the laws establishing these boards seems to be obsolete now and is no longer in operation. What this bill seeks to do or seeks to achieve is to combine all these commodity boards and enact a single board that will be given the jurisdiction to superintend over all this board, rather than having avalanche of boards for every crop. This bill seeks to combine them together and enact a single commodity and grain board that will have the jurisdiction over all these commodities. And this will be an an advantage of going a long way in reducing cost in governance, especially against the backdrop of the fact that now we are trying as much as possible to reduce overhead in governance and deploy these resources to the capital expenditure that will have positive impact on the lives of our constituents. Again, what this bill seeks to do is that hitherto root and tuber crops are not captured in the commodity board. With the enactment of this bill into law, subject to the discretion of these hollowed chambers, grains and tuber crops, root and tuber crops would also be incorporated in the incoming grains and commodity board, so that they will also be captured. Again, in the old act, the authority of fixing price is vested in Mr. President, but because of the exigencies of office of Mr. President and the tight schedule of Mr. President, this bill seeks to give the powers of fixing prices for these commodities and grains is to be given to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, so that Mr. President, having regard to the anonymity of work of that office, cannot adequately discharge that responsibility. It is now going to be given to the Minister of Agriculture for the purpose of effective and easy decision-making process. So, Mr. Speaker, honourable members, essentially, this bill is brought to further give muscular expression to the gospel of diversification of the Nigerian economy away from oil to agriculture that this government is preaching. And all of us can attest to the advantages that may accrue to the country with the diversification of our economy to agriculture. So I urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill with speed of light, having regard to the fact that most of us, 90% of us here are representing agrarian constituencies. Thank you.
Yes, I think for the very good fact that we are all from agrarian constituencies, and coupled with our own prayer that we should treat it with the speed of light, I want to believe this is a very straightforward bill. I now put the question. Those in favor of the motion that the bill be read second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. That is have it. Clerk, you are invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for now to repeal the Community Board Act, Chapter C4, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Community and Grain Board as a body corporate to promote, regulate, and standardize the production, exportation of such commodities and grains and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to the Committee on Agricultural Production and Services. Respected colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Trade Investment to provide for investment indemnity assurance scheme, trade and investment tribunal, trade and investment regulatory registered data bank, and for related matters standing in the name of Honorable Osai Nicholas Osai. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Thursday, 17 July 2019, and now invite Honorable Osai to move that the bill be read the second time. Honorable Osai.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Osai is on the floor. I apply that the bill be stepped down by the leave of the House. I saw
bill stepped down by leave of the House. Respected colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to further alter the provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended to provide for the financial and administrative autonomy of local government councils and uniformity of tenure across the country, and related matters standing in Honorable Mansour Manusoro. All members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 26 November 2019, and now invite Honorable Manu Soro to move that the bill be read second time. Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Mansour Manu Soro, member representing Daras Rubenjo Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Bauchi State. I rise to move that a bill for an act to further alter the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, to provide for the financial and administrative autonomy of local government councils and uniformity of tenure across the country, and for related matters read the second time. I so moved.
Seconder, Honorable Falaki.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is James Abiodun Falaki. I rise to second the motion moved by my colleague. I so second.
Honorable Manu, lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My respected colleagues, I stand before this House today to lead a debate on the general principles of a bill that seeks to address the critical issue of administrative and financial independence of the local governments as guaranteed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. This bill is coming at a very critical time of growing national challenges occasioned by monumental underdevelopment of the grassroots communities. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, in their kind wisdom, the drafters of the 1999 Constitution guaranteed the financial and administrative independence of the local government councils as the third tier of government in Nigeria. However, the present reality is at great variance with the original provisions of the Constitution. Politically, local government lacks autonomy as the state governments interfere in their elections. Administratively, local government lacks independence as the state governments determines their staff recruitment, postings, and discipline. Financially, local government councils are non-independent as their funds are obtained withheld by the state governments through the state joint accounts. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, it is important to mention here that in accordance with their primary mandate of bringing development to the communities at the grassroots, the federal government, through the Federal Allocation Account Committee, FAC, has empowered the local government councils in Nigeria with a whopping sum of 7 trillion naira in statutory allocations between the period of January 2015 to September 2019. Regrettably, despite this staggering amount, many communities in Nigeria are today without water. Many communities are today without health facilities and other basic amenities. This sad development is the reason why endemic poverty and worsening insecurity levels has continued to be developed in the Nigerian nation. The collapse of the local government system in Nigeria is majorly the reason why we have Boko Haram insurgency today. The collapse of the local government councils in Nigeria is to a great extent the reason why we have armed banditry and kidnapping. The collapse of the XGS in Nigeria today is the reason why this honorable house continue to witness high rate of turnover of members at the end of every 4 years, simply because members cannot cope with the humongous demands of the people in the face of collapsed local government administrations. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, unless this honorable house address this critical issue as bravely as it demands, Nigerians living in the communities will continue to live in desperate conditions, making their lives solitary, poor, nasty, and brutish. And let me say this, the greatest disservice that the present government will do to Nigeria and to Nigerians is to allow the state assemblies to kill this very important proposal, yet again as experienced in the past. The fourth estate of the Rim, and indeed the civil society organizations, have the responsibility to rise to the occasion and create the necessary public awareness to get this bill passed by the National Assembly, to get it ratified by the state assemblies, and then assented by the President. It is in view of this, Mr. Speaker, that I want to call on my colleagues to unanimously support this bill and ensure its immediate passage. I so moved. Thank you.
Respected colleagues, this is a bill that has passed through. This is the third time I suppose so being brought on the floor of the House. And I want to appeal from the language being used that we need to put some caution. It's not all governors that are involved in those activities. And so we should not give a sweeping word on all of them. To my appeal, it's a constitutional matter. We still require the said assemblies. It's very important. And so I want to appeal on all of us, and appeal to those who may possibly hear the words that may not be sounding so good into their head, that the intention of the bill is to bring good governance across the country. Possibly it's a matter of choice of words. In light of that, I would like to put the question, because it's a very state bill, all of us are yearning for it, that the question now is that those in favor of the bill be ready second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill. Colleagues, you should understand, he wants to be governor possibly. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to further alter the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to provide for the financial and administrative autonomy of local government councils and uniformity of tenure across the country and for related matters. Second reading.
Thank you very much. Bill referred to the Committee on Constitutional Review. Respected colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the commencement of debate on the general principle of a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal University of Sports, Afuze, Edo State, and to make comprehensive provision for its due management and administration, and for related matters, starting in the name of Honorable Julius. Honorable members will recall that the bill was read the first time on Friday, 20 December 2019. I will now invite Honorable Julius to move that the bill be read the second time.
So, Speaker, Honorable Julius is not on the floor. I apply that the bill be stepped down by the leave of the House. I so move, sir.
Bill stepped down by the leave of the House. Distinguished respected colleagues, The seventh order of the day is a motion on restructuring Nigerian apprenticeship system and the need to expand vocational training centers to boost youth employment, standing and now Honorable Chukuma. Honorable members, Honorable is invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Chukuma Umoji, representing the good people of Agota Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm of the Apoga extraction. The motion on the restructuring of Nigeria apprenticeship system and the need to expand vocational training centers to boost youth employment. The House notes that the undeniable and invaluable contributions of the indigenous apprenticeship to societal and national development are weak. The House also notes that due to the shortage of adequate skilled artisanship, various sectors of the economy has for long been identified as a bane of development in the country due to reliance on traditional and hereditary methods of apprenticeship. The House is aware of the challenges posed by lack of quality and adequate manpower for housing, construction, automobile repair, steel work, renovation, and fabrication works, etc., to individual citizens, urban managers, and development planners. The House is disturbed that subsequent upon the failure to develop apprenticeship culture in Nigeria, Chinese and other expatriate artisans have taken over Nigeria's market to the detriment of local artisans, thus kicking the indigenous artisans out of the market. The House further disturbed that the expatriate artisans repatriate half of the estimated over 900 billion they make to their home countries yearly. The House therefore resolves to urge the federal government to de-emphasize paper qualification and give more attention to vocational education in order to stem the tide of unemployment among Nigerian youths. It also urged the federal government to restructure the country's apprenticeship system, expand existing vocational training centers, and build new skill acquisition centers in all the states of the Federation. Further urge the Nigerian Immigration Service, NIS, to verify the immigration status of all expatriate artisans in the country and accordingly report back to the Committee on Interior. Again, urge the Director General, National Directorate of Employment, NDE, to strategize action plan for youth employment in line with the agenda of the present administration. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I vote.
Seconder. Yes, sir. Sport Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Olumide Oshoba. I represent Abeokuta North, Obafemi and Odeda Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion as moved my colleague. So, second.
Colleagues, this is an infrastructure-related motion.
Mr. Speaker.
No, except if you have an amendment.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Just a little.
You don't want us to put a question? It is an infrastructure-related motion, so I now put the question. Those in... No. Let's save our time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Motion referred to relevant committee of the House. Respected colleagues, the eighth order of the day is a motion on need to utilize the Zobe Dam located in Dusema local government area of Katsina State. Standing now, Honorable Amir Abdul Qadir. Honorable Qadir is invited to the motion.
Mr. Speaker, Mayor, who is not on the floor, I apply that the motion be stepped down by the leave of the House. So moved.
Motion stepped down by the leave of the House. Respected colleagues, the ninth order of the day is a motion on need to relocate the Federal Medical Center Yola to Mubi, North Local Government Area, Adamawa State, standing now Honorable Jafar Abubakar Magaji. Honorable Magaji is invited to move the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, Honorable Jafar Abubakar Magaji is my name. I'm representing Mubi North, Mubi South, and my federal constituency of Adamawa State. The House, aware that the federal government through the National University Commission is set to upgrade multiple Adamawa University of Technology, Yola, to a conventional university, and also Federal Medical Center, Yola, to a teaching hospital of the university. This follows the successful passage of the bill seeking for the setting up a medical college in Modibo Adamawa University of the Technology, Mautic. And upgrade the Federal Medical Center, FMC Yola, to a teaching hospital by the National Assembly. Note that Mubi, being one of the places ravaged by the insurgency attack, is a strategic location. Relocating the Federal Medical Center to Mubi will immensely cater for patients, not only from Mubi, but also Michika, Maiha, Madagali Home, Gombe, and part of the Population local government area of Adamawa State. Also places like Gwaza, Biu, Uba, and Chibok in Borno State, and indeed neighboring countries like Cameroon Republic. Concerned that the distance to Yola and the deplorable condition of the road is causing untold hardship and unnecessary delay to patients who are in dire need of medical attention, and at times many loses their lives on transit while trying to reach the Yola for emergency situation. Resolved to urge the Federal Ministry of Health to relocate the Federal Medical Center Yola to Mubi in Mubi North local government area of Adamawa State. To mandate House Committee on Health to ensure compliance of the resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Before we get this conduct, Honorable Jafar, I thought we should guide you and guide ourselves properly. This is an institution that is established by law. And in that law, the place of location is specifically mentioned. So you cannot amend or shift the location unless you come through the request will come through the amendment of the act establishing that institution. That should be the proper procedure. So I would wish to ask you to step down this motion, rather than having seconder, so that you go and do the needful, except if you insist, but that's a procedure. You can't change location, you can't change anything through motions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I rise to step down the motion for relocating the Federal Medical Center from Yola to Mubi.
Motion stepped down by the leave of the House. Respected colleagues, the 10th order of the day is a motion calling on the Independent National Electoral Commission to create additional 7 state constituencies. Honorable Farah Dagogo. Honorable Dagogo is invited to move the motion. Again, Honorable Bagos, take your seat. Honorable Prestigious, take your seat. Honorable Dagogo, I still want to give the same advice. There is a constitutional provision as to how these things are done. Until you alter the constitution, motions cannot cure. So we should save our precious time. That's my appeal. To step down. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, my name is Nagogo Dr. Farah. I represent Degema Boni Federal Constituency. I'm from River State. Mr. Speaker, as you said, the motion will be stepped down as agreed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Motion stepped down by the leader of the House. Respected colleagues, the 11th order of the day is a motion on need for the Nigerian police force to implement the community policing in their postings, standing in the name of Honorable Francis Wavy. Honorable Wavy is invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, Right Reverend Honorable Francis Ejirogane Waivers, by name, I represent the entire people of Ugele North, Ugele South, and Udu, Abivemekpara Urobo. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Delta State. The need for the Nigerian police force to implement community policing in their postings. The House knows that Nigeria is in a transitional and democratically developing stage, and therefore experiencing periods of rapid social, economic, and political changes, with their resultant security challenges that are affecting state structures, agencies, and their performances. The House also notes that critical to the changes is the development and sustenance of a strong police architecture with the capacity to effectively carry out its primary responsibility to maintain law and order and ensure peaceful coexistence among the citizens, as well as safeguard lives and properties. Concerned that traditional policing approach is essentially reactive and primarily law enforcement based, and there is the need for a policing structure that is proactive and able to stop crime before it is committed, not responding to calls for services after the crime has been committed, and most times resulting in irreparable damages, including loss of lives. Cognizance that community policing has remained a problem-solving approach to security challenges and management in many countries of the world, including the US, the UK, Canada, Japan, all of which are known for effective problem solving and community engagement to address the causes of crime, fear of crime, and other community issues. The House further notes that the community policing model is different from the state police being clamored for by different states, and is also different from the traditional vigilante structure or any other police community forum being operated in different parts of the country. The House recalls a publication in the Daily Trust newspaper of 3rd September 2019, where the Inspector General of Police stated that the President had approved the implementation of a new community police policy, which will require the establishment of special constabulary in line with Part X of the Police Act. Also recalls that the police community structure being adopted by the government is such that special constables will be drawn from members of the community to serve as voluntary community police officers under the coordination of the Nigerian police force. The House commends the President for the policy. However, there is the need for the Nigerian police force to adopt the community policing in their postings, assessing the ranks and file of the force where officers are posted to serve in their various zones, states, and local communities of origin. Believes also that the policy will have a far-reaching effect, as officers will be saddled with responsibility of safety and well-being of their community of origin, and also enhance police community relations thereby checkmating crime rates and security challenges in general. My prayers. The House resolves to 1. Urge the Nigerian police force to implement community policing in its postings. 2. Mandate the Community on Police Affairs to interface with the Nigerian police force to work out modalities for the implementation of the policy and report back to the House within 4 weeks for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
My brother, Honorable Francis, again we are into the same quagmire. In the Act establishing Nigerian police, there is no provision of a word called community policing. 2, if you are asking about postings, it cannot come with the direction of the House, except if there is an investigation and then the House is convinced there are other things, that through that possibly advices, we could now ask them to have everything. We'll have a committee. I don't know what the chairman rules you should explain to us, because some of these motions are not supposed to come on the other paper. As they are sent to you, you are supposed to send to the relevant committees for their input and advices. From there, they can remodel and come out a motion that can be suitably taken and be respected by the Nigerians. So what is happening? Francis, I will beg that we still refine. We are not going to kill your motion. All those who are what I will ask them to step down is to have a better input. We are watched internationally, and that's why we need to be cautious on what we are throwing out. I still want to beg you to step down so that we'll have a better input between you and police, and we'll come up with a better motion. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I believe that the House has the authority to persuade the Nigerian police force to pass the sentiments of the Nigerian people. It is a matter of posting. We cannot do the posting as a House. And the Act does not deal with the matter of posting. But the House can persuade the Nigerian police force, especially in this time of security challenges in the country. The House can persuade the police force to look in this direction, that this perhaps could help to solve the security challenges we are facing as a country. That is the area I'm going to. I am not.
Honorable Francis, sorry, I don't want to. I'm supposed to be a very good listener, but I also want to guide you and guide us. In the Act establishing the Nigerian Police Force, it is called Nigerian Police Force Act. You are introducing a new nomenclature being agitated by Nigerians to have another arm called community policing, which may involve those in the armed forces and involve those within the homes and communities. It's a different agitation. I want to believe so. Except if you say we should allow, we will allow you, then the House will take a decision. As for me, my judgment says that community policing is not under the purview, as of today, of the Nigerian Police Force. By law. And I want to, as a lawmaker, strictly respect the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Pass motions and bills that will be respected. That's my own position. No. Are you still insisting to take over? To continue, sorry. If you want to continue, continue. Let's have a seconder.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's, perhaps it's my understanding. I'm not trying to say something against the Constitution.
Seconder. Yes.
Let me step in there.
Yes, Honorable Francis. Jai, you want to second? Okay.
He wants to step in there.
want to second it.
Yes.
Yes, we have argument. Thank you, sir. Ahmed Jaha Babao is my name. Chibok Dambo Goza Federal Constituency is where I represent. I rise to second the motion moved by Honorable Francis Reverend on the... I saw second. Thank you.
Honorable Francis, lead the debate.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I can see the direction, Mr. Speaker. I have not said I've stepped it down. Honorable colleagues, I believe that what I am bringing to the floor is something that can help Nigeria in this time of challenges. The Act does not address the matter of community policing. That is true, and that is the defect we are trying to resolve. And we are not trying to do an amendment to the Act, but rather place an advice to the Nigerian police to implement this as a deliberate policy in posting of their personnel whenever they are doing postings. Because I believe that most crimes originate from the communities, and if you post policemen from a community to that community, they will be able to look at the situation better, knowing the crannies, the nooks and crannies of their communities, and be able to do effective policing. It's just a question of the House providing our advice to the Nigerian Police Force as a way of helping to solve the security problems of the country. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Honorable Ahmed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Ahmed Jaha is my name, and I represent Chibok Dambuo Goza Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I may have a different understanding of the content of the motion, and that does not mean I'm not subject to correction if my understanding is not in consonant with the content of the motion. My understanding of this motion is that for policemen in their various posting to be using local vigilantes, local hunters, civilian JTF, to mention but a few, because I can see in my state and other neighboring states of my state, this thing has worked perfectly. Let me give you an example, sir. For instance, now if you go to Adamawa State, for instance, right from Limankara, where we are bordering Adamawa State with Borno, you realize that in every checkpoint you have policemen working hand in hand with the local community vigilante or hunters, because they know the terrain better than anybody, and they equally know the route of criminals better than the policemen that are posted from other various parts, other parts of the country. So this is my understanding of this motion. So if at all he was calling for the utilization or effective posting of these local vigilante, local hunters, as far as I'm concerned, I'm convinced beyond any reason. But the only thing is, maybe we can move for the amendment of the prayers to ask the Nigerian police force to implement community hunters instead of community policing. Because I realize, we should be very grateful, we should be very understanding of this thing. I know members, our honorable colleagues, are not comfortable with the word policing. So that particular word, community policing, can be changed with another suitable word so that the motion can go. As we can see, we shouldn't throw the baby with the bath water. So I want people to understand, if you can make an amendment, it's okay. And we'll be grateful for those of us from the other part of the chamber. We'll be grateful to the rest members of the chamber. Thank you so much. Please make amendment, don't kill this motion, it's very important. Thank you.
Honorable Ben.
Thank you, Speaker.
You can make amendment.
Honorable colleagues, my name is Honorable Benjamin Bemzandu. I speak for the people of Makudi Guma. We are from Benue State. I also represent the very faint voice of the unemployed youth of this nation. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second and to support this motion that the Nigerian police force engage the use of local policing in their posting. I think the principles and the intention of this motion is more advisory than compelling. Just like we say politics is localized, security is more local.
Point of order.
My name is Honorable Mohamed Tahir Munguno. I represent Martin Munguno Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. My point of order is on point of law. Mr. Speaker, point of law. Constitutional order. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, which section? It is tribe law that this Nigerian police force, its operations and modus operandi is guided by law. That is beyond doubt. And there is no way you can seek to amend a law by way of motion, because our motions are purely persuasive in nature. They are not of a binding effect. They don't have the coercive power of enforcement. So what we are doing now is purely an academic exercise. And we are not known to be going about in an academic exercise in these hallowed chambers. It's like we are embarking upon a voyage of discovery. And this is not what we are called upon to do here. We are here to enact laws. I think in order to save the valuable time of the legislature, I will advise my good friend, Honorable Webb, to come by way of a bill to amend the Police Act so that this motion can be implemented effectively rather than wasting our valuable time in an academic exercise that will go nowhere. At the end of the day, it is purely persuasive in nature.
Well, I still insist, and I want you to take the first prayer of this motion. Urge the Nigerian police force to implement. It means that you have already a policy in ground. What you are asking them is to implement, but do you really have that policy on ground? Just yesterday, as a point of information, the IGs they are about to develop, and they are asking to implement, which policy is he going to implement? And that's why I keep on urging you and begging you. No, I think we can help ourselves. Francis, huh?
Mr. Speaker, I see the mood of the house. I step down the motion.
It's not about the mood of the house, but about the procedure and the right thing to be done. It's not about our mood. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, well, I think this motion need for Nigerian police force to implement community. Just a moment. No, he has not ruled. No, he has not ruled on that. No, he has not ruled on that. It has to depend on the Mr. Speaker to agree to the stepping down. He has not ruled on that.
Well, leader, I thought you are going to contribute further towards us understanding the need to step down, and I rely upon his own request. I want to say, motion step down by the leave of the house. Thank you. Respected colleagues, the 12th order of the day is a motion on the settlement of the internet displaced persons from the various camps in Benue State, standing in Honorable Benjamin Bem. Honorable Benjamin is invited with the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name remains Honorable Benjamin Bem Zondu. I speak for the people of Makudi, Guma. We are from Benue State. I also represent the very faint voice of the unemployed teeming youth of this nation, Honorable Speaker. I rise this afternoon to bring a motion on the need to resettle the internally displaced persons, popularly called the IDPs, from the various camps across Benue State. The House notes that the herders farmers crisis in Nigeria, particularly in Benue State, led to internally displaced of thousands of people currently housed in the various IDP camps across the state. Aware that the crisis has gained notoriety, that the Global Terrorism Index reported that about 8,000 people were killed between 2010 and 2013, and about 1,229 killed in 2014, with most fatalities occurring in the Benue Valley, which is the north-central state, and particularly in Benue State. Cognizant that about 483,699 persons have been displaced in Benue State due to the ravaging herders farmers conflict, leading to the establishment of 8 IDP camps in Guma, Makudi, Agatu, Logo, Buruku, Okpoku, Way West, and Kwande local government areas of the state. Also aware that the camps in Kwande house not only displaced persons from Benue State and neighboring state, but also citizens of the Republic of Cameroon. Worried by the vulnerability of children and women frequently exploited at the camps, leading to sexual perversion, harassment, and other antisocial behaviors. Further worried that the situation in Benue State has resulted in a human crisis of about 102,000 children of school age being out of school due to lack of access to schools in the various IDP camps. Disturbed that the camp is characterized by poor hygiene, resulting in outbreak of disease such as cholera and other communicable diseases that put the lives of about 34,986 displaced persons at risk and complicating life in the camps. Regret that the pathetic situation of the IDP camps in Benue State came to the fore during the visit of the Vice President to the state during one of the crises in 2018, wherein he announced the federal government approval of 10 billion naira for rebuilding the areas affected by the crisis, rehabilitation, resettlement, and integration of the traumatized victims to their ancestral communities. Further regret that over a year after the visit of the Vice President, the approved sum have not been released, thereby further compounding the plight of the displaced persons in the camp who are now dying of hunger, as manifested in the recent death of 8 persons in the Mbawa IDP camps in Guma local government of Benue State. Concerned that if urgent steps are not taken to rebuild the destroyed infrastructure, such as schools, hospitals, and markets, among others, to resettle the displaced and traumatized persons, a situation of state of neglect and helplessness will be created, thereby defeating the primary purpose of government as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. I therefore pray that the House resolve to 1. Urge the National Commission for Refugees
migrants and internally displaced persons to liaise with the Benue State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, to ensure the disengagement and resettlement of internally displaced persons in the camp across the state. 2, mandate the Committee on Internally Displaced Persons to liaise with the National Commission for Refugee, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons to facilitate the immediate release of the sum of 10 billion approved for rebuilding the communities and infrastructures affected by the herders-farmers conflict to ensure prompt rehabilitation and reintegration of the traumatized victims in Benue State. Finally, further mandate the Committee on Defense to interact with the appropriate security authorities to deploy enough troops to the affected communities to strengthen security of life and properties for full disengagement of the IDP camps. I so move.
This is an infrastructure-related motion, and again, disaster-related. So we will not debate. I will ask for a seconder thereafter put the question. Amendment? Who has amendment? Yes, sir. Yes, it's called a motion. The amendment will come later. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Dachung Musa Bagos. I rise to second the motion moved by Honorable Ben Uzondu. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
I remain Honorable Emeka Chinedu. I represent the good people of Ayaz raising within the separate constituency. Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment on the prayer. The prayer should also include that the House mandates NDE, that's National Director of Employment, to initiate empowerment, employment and poverty reduction schemes at the 3 NDE disposal to erase the plight of displaced persons in the IDP camp communities.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. I remain Honorable Kabir Idris, member representing Kura Madobiga Rumala. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Kano State. I rise to support these very important amendments raised by my very good friend, Honorable Emeka. I so support, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Emeka, the motion is on notice, so next time you send me an amendment as quickly as possible, even before it is concluded procedure. Those in favor of the motion, the amendment say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Another amendment? Those in favor of the motion as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Motion deferred to the level committees of the House. Respected colleagues, the 13th order of the day is a motion on confronting the menace of falling fried containers. Nigerians standing in the name of our Honorable Olufemi Bamidele Adebanjo. Honorable Adebanjo is invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, it seems Honorable Adebanjo is not on the floor. I apply that the
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable Olufemi Adebanjo. I represent Alimosho Federal Constituency of Lagos State. I'm a Lagosian. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the motion confronting the menace of the falling freight containers in Nigeria, the incessant cases of falling containers in Nigeria, especially in Lagos State, and the havoc leading to the death, sometimes permanent disability to the victims. I'm aware that at the turn of the century, death toll of wars road have hit 3,400 per day, and nearly 1.3 million with up to 10 million injured every year as a result of falling containers proclaimed by the United Nations between period of 2010 to date. Concerned that during this period, the record of freight falling containers has increased, especially in Lagos State, as Lagos is among the top shipping lines in Nigeria and among the resolutions passed by the United Nations on improving global road safety that Apapa Road should be attached to. Also concerned that among the key decisions reached on monitoring the progress of the roads, a summit for vehicle inspection and road safety officers, which kicked off at Calabar, has done little to avoid this disaster because of the bad portions of the road. I also resolved to call on the federal government to direct the Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, to expedite the ongoing road rehabilitation and call on the vehicle inspection officers, VIO, to look at the roadworthiness of flatbed trucks. Also urge the Nigerian Shippers Council, NSC, under the aegis of Association of Maritime Truck Owners, AMATO, to address the bad conditions of trucks plying the route of Nigerian ports, which has caused damages, and deal with defaulters. Also urge the Federal Road Safety Commission to insist on the size and also adhere to the best international standard on flatbeds, which are 104.1 mm along and 55.9 mm wide, with a pointed top and rotated 90 degrees in order not to be deterred. I so moved, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dejade.
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much. I still remain Honorable Dr. Samuel Babatunde Adejare. I represent the good people of Agege from Lagos State, the state of excellence. Sir, I rise to move the motion. I rise to second the motion. As rightly moved by my brother and friend, Honorable Adebanjo, I so second.
Adebanjo, do you allow me to put the question or you want to lead the debate? Because it's very straightforward motion. You want to amend? Okay. Yes, sir. Ecological.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable Isiaka Ayokunle Ibrahim. I represent the very good people of for Iwekuru Federal Constituency. I'm from Ogun State, Mr. Speaker. This very motion, it's not only about Lagos, it concerns everybody here in this country. Nearly every day, every hour in a day, we always hear about these falling containers from the articulated vehicles. And we have lost and still losing a lot of lives. Mr. Speaker, I want to amend this motion by saying that at every port and point of loading and offloading of containers, there is something we call latching, that is using strap. If it is 40-feet container, they must strap it at 4 points. If it's a 20-feet container, it must be strapped at 2 points. So by my amendment, Speaker, is that at every point of loading of containers in this country, they must ensure proper latching of the containers before either offloading or loading the containers. Then the second amendment, which is another prayer, Mr. Speaker, is that all security agencies concerned must ensure that any articulated vehicle flying the roads in this country without latching, proper latching of containers, such articulated vehicle must be detained until the driver comply by latching the containers before they allow them to move. If we don't do this, we'll continue to kill our people on the road, Mr. Speaker. I so amend, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honorable Sada.
Mr. Speaker, my name is Sada Soli. I'm representing Jubia Kaita Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, this is a very awakening motion. But the mover of the motion, Mr. Speaker,
I don't know, my leader, whether you are upside mandate or something like that, because we have gone past that one. We say it's an infrastructure-related motion. We acknowledge, and that's why we thought of putting the question. But there's an amendment brought by Chairman Ecological. I thought you wanted to second. You want to further amendment? Let's have seconders for the amendments first. Yes, Honorable Maki.
Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, I'm Abubakar Maki Eleman. I represent Madam Modori Kaugama. I'm from Jigawa State. I stand to second the amendment heavily moved by my honorable colleague. I so second.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against say nay. That is have it. Yes, Honorable Sarah, you can move on.
Mr. Speaker, this motion refused to touch the human factor. The human factor in the sense that, Mr. Speaker, you may find some of these drivers, they lack discipline on our roads. Some of these accidents are man-made. Not that some of these flat trucks don't have the equipment to hold on to these containers very well. We have moved containers from the ports to the hinterland, and these containers arrived safely. But there is a human factor in this issue. So I want to make an amendment or add one of the prayers that urge the road workers to conduct retraining on the drivers. Also, another prayer, urge the Federal Road Safety Commission to re-establish weighing centers on our federal roads. They used to be there before. Some of these trucks, they carry more than what they should carry. But if these weighing stations are effective, the weighing bridges are effective, I'm sure they can checkmate some of these unwanted accidents. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder? Yes, John Day.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable colleagues, Dr. John Day is my name, from Benue State, Boko, Taka, Federal Constituency. I second the motion as moved by Right Honorable Sada Soli. At the amendments.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against say nay. That is have it. Those in favor of the motion as amended say aye. Those against say nay. That is have it. Motion referred to 11 committees of the House. Respected colleagues, the 15th order of the day is consideration of a bill for an act to establish Federal University Gashua and to make comprehensive provision for the due management and administration and for later matters. Honourable members will call that the bill was committed to committee of the whole on Wednesday, 11 December 2019. Honourable Ahmed Idris will move for his consideration. Yes, Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Abubakar Samfulata. I represent Burniwa, Kirika, Sama, Guri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House do consider the report of the committee for an act for a bill for an act to establish Federal University Gashua and to make comprehensive provision
for its due management and administration and for related matters, HB 503. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's a bit. The 15th order of the day is consideration of a bill for an act to repeal the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria Act, CAP P17 Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria Bill to regulate training and practice of pharmacy and for related matters. Honourable members will recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Thursday, 26 September 2019. Honourable Johnson Oguma will move for its consideration. I'm made to understand. Sergius, in the New Alliance, thank you.
Mr. Speaker, my highly esteemed colleagues, I'm Sergius Ose Ogun. I represent Eastern Northeast, Eastern Southeast, and I'm from Edo State. I rise to move that the bill for an act to repeal the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria Act, CAP P17 Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria Bill to regulate the training and practice of pharmacy and related matters be taken. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader, move that the House do resolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider the bills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable members, I rise to move that the House do resolve in the Committee of the Whole to consider these reports as directed by the Speaker of the House. Mr. Speaker, honourable members, I so move.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I am Engineer Muhammad Ali Udil. I represent Udil Garko Federal Constituency. I second the motion as ably moved by the leader that House do resolve in the Committee of the Whole.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The House is hereby resolved into the Committee of the Whole. Simply respect colleagues, I want to believe these are very straightforward bills. However, the first bill to be considered is for an act to establish a federal university and to make comprehensive provision for its due management and administration. And for them, I invite the leader, the chairman House to give us a synopsis of the bill. Synopsis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill, Mr. Chairman, seeks to formalize the statutes of an existing institution, Federal University Gashua. The university has been functioning since its creation during the Jonathan administration. Apparently, the statutes have not been submitted formally to the National Assembly for codification and final ratification. So it is in view of this that this bill is now being submitted formally to the House of Representatives, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, for final ratification. Honourable colleagues, I urge you to support the final codification of this bill, federal investigation. Thank you.
It is a very straightforward bill, like given to us, is to ensure the enactment of the law to back an existing institution that's already functional for over years. Thank you. Those in favor of clause 1? Clause 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 26. $27, $28. Where's 28? Scheduled. One, two, third schedule. 32. Third schedule. Wait. No. No. No, step down now. No, then step down. No bill was step down. Third schedule. No bill was step down. It's motion that was step down. Go check. Explanatory memoranda. Secure. Take. Sergius. The second bill to be considered is for an act to repeal the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria Act, Cap P17 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria Bill to regulate the training and practice of pharmacy and related matters. I invite Honorable Sergius to give the synopsis of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Sergius Ose Ogun. I represent Eastern Northeast, Eastern Southeast, and Abamedo States. Mr. Chairman, this bill was passed by the National Assembly, the Senate, and the House in the 8th Assembly. The President withheld the assent to the bill. Basically, the bill seeks to repeal the Decree 92 on Pharmacists Council and to establish the Pharmacy Council. The concerns include 1. Repealing the Pharmacist Decree 1992, 2. Eliminating inconsistencies and proliferations of controls, 3. Bring the Act to present realities in conformity to modern times and standards, 4. Change the name from Pharmacist to Pharmacy Council of Nigeria to accommodate and widen the scope of interest such as pharmacy technologists, patient medicine dealers, etc., etc. And 5, remove regulation and control from the hitherto Ministry of Health to the Pharmacy Council. 6, create avenue for employment, and 7, reduce the numbers of board members. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Colleagues, thank you very much. So tomorrow when you are chemists with steps, you have to add that value. Clause 1, 2, 3. We have pharmacists here. I expect they have gone through the bill. Thank you. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. What does this speak about? 13, Sergius. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 49, 50, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 71. Lawyers, help us. Why are they saying court must mean Federal High Court? What about the remaining courts? Are there no courts? Sorry, I want you to help us. Chinda. Go to page 42. They say court must mean means the Federal High Court. it cannot be taken to any other court except Federal High Court.
In fact, I wanted to call our attention that we would have added exclusive in that clause 63, but we had already passed it. Clause 63 says the Federal High Court shall have the jurisdiction to hear and determine criminal and civil matters under this bill. I think the intention is to empower only Federal High Court to adjudicate on this bill. So if we had added exclusive, no, that's court of first instance. It can go on appeal. It can get to appeal and Supreme Court, but court of first instance is Federal High Court.
You're supposed to have eagle eye.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, sir, there is no need for us. My name is Mohamed Tai Monguno. I represent Marke Monguno, Ganze Federal Constituency of Borno State. These are offenses cognizable by the Federal High Court. The Federal High Court has jurisdiction over these offenses under this act as per the laws establishing the Federal High Court. That is why jurisdiction was given to the Federal High Court and mention was made in the interpretation clause that court means Federal High Court. That is all. So there is no need to give exclusive jurisdiction in the act or something because it amounts to, what can I say, tautology.
Sir, I have an observation.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Sir, I remain Aisho Koko, sir. I represent Koko Bese Maimasa. Sir, I want to agree a little bit, but there's a very, very important putting that exclusive because in trial, I'm sorry, sir, in trial, all federal offenses are started with the Federal High Court because as the court instance court to start doing the case, to avoid putting people into prison, magistrate courts, they only take cognizance of that case and send them to prison. That's why people are lying down in the prison for like 10, 15 without trial. By putting that exclusive, the case will start at the instance of the Federal High Court and could go to the Supreme Court. That's my observation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm speaking as a lawyer, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, I'm speaking as already the Federal High Court law gives jurisdiction over these offenses under this act to the Federal High Court. It was already established. So for you to mention in an act that the Federal High Court should have an exclusive jurisdiction it's tautology.
That is nothing like Federal High Court law.
Federal High Court Act. Federal High Court Act is Federal High Court law. It's the act
that established Federal High Court.
That establishing the Federal High Court. These offences are cognizable by the Federal High Court. There is no need for you to go and put exclusive in a law again.
Well, what I will ask, is there any mischief if you say exclusive? Will there be any mischief?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Am I recognized? Am I recognized, sir? Yeah. Do I go on chair? Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, I remain Ajibola Murain Honorable. I represent Barakwa Central, Barakwa North Federal Constituency of Oyo State. I think it is far better to put exclusive so that we emphasize the fact that it is only the Federal High Court. And that is why even in the divination section,
they say court means the Federal High Court. So when we have exclusive, we are trying to be very explicit and very clear. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, they will now understand that this is a law made by laymen like me.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Honorable Ibrahim Kunlela Raju. I represent the entire people of Mobaido, the Federal Constituency. Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, there is no law made by laymen. The modern drafting language are all excessive words. Legislators and drafters have had several trainings where you don't need to use more than one word. You don't use it. We can't be seen to be moving forward and be looking backward. When the Interpretation Act has stated the law, you don't put any extraneous word. What the essence of the training we are receiving? I was the staff of legal department here as a drafter. You don't put word that's not needed. It doesn't sound more than. It's not needed. That exclusive is just needed. I'm Federal High Court. You don't need it. It causes injury because it doesn't show us as a modern drafter. Those are old language of putting exclusive. The law has stated Federal High Court. Simple.
Can we make for
Sir, I think for mention, sir. We honestly have the responsibility to avoid unnecessary keeping people in prison. Just like that for no reason. Because I have the experience of a case, a capital offense that's supposed to be in the Federal High Court. As a police officer, I would like they decide to charge it to magistrate court. And the magistrate court will just go and put them in the prison for like 10, 15 years. Nothing. And the trial did not even start. But if the Federal High Court had the instant power to start that case straight, they don't waste time. And to go on the appeal of the Supreme Court. That's my own opinion, and it's honestly. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In fact, my dear colleagues, the argument here underscores the need to add that word exclusive. Because without that word, this is exactly what will happen when it comes for interpretation. Now, if we had exclusive jurisdiction of Federal High Court, I don't think that we would have had any argument. The fact that we are arguing here, if it also goes for interpretation, a lawyer will argue that state high courts has unlimited jurisdiction. And so the state high court can decide over any matter. Then the Federal High Court Act gives specific matters to Federal High Courts. Now, this law says crime or civil action emanating from state high court can assume jurisdiction unless we add that word, exclusive jurisdiction of the Federal High Court. So to avoid these arguments, and it is not injurious, at worst, it will be a mere surplusage. At worst, it will be mere surplusage. It's not injurious. We understand what we want as legislators, but those outside might not understand it clearly. So it's better for us to play safe, like our colleague has said, so that no magistrate, no state high court will hide under this clause to begin to do mischief.
Very clear. Thank you. The Leonard Main. We will take amendment on that one, rescind decision on that particular clause, so that we correct it to put the exclusive. Then clause 63, 64, 65, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72. Do we have 72? First schedule. First schedule. Third schedule. Second. explanatory memoranda. Then the restatement of that particular clause so that we'll add the exclusive. Yes, that's one actually. Yes, Jinda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kingsley Chinda, I most humbly apply that we rescind our decision on clause 63 and at the same time enable us amend the clause by adding exclusive before after half, so that clause 63 will read the Federal High Court shall have exclusive jurisdiction to hear and determine criminal and civil matters under this bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I hereby second the motion ably moved by Honorable Chinda. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Leader, move that we move to plan to report progress.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable members. I rise to move that we revert to plenary and report progress. Mr. Chairman, honorable members, I so move.
Honorable Speaker, honorable Chairman, honorable members, I second the motion that the House do revert to plenary to report progress.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. House revert to plenary to report progress. Distinguished respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered a report on a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Gashua and to make comprehensive provision for its due management and administration and for related matters and approve clauses 1 to 27, the schedules, the explanatory memoranda, and the long title of the bill. Distinguished colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on the bill for an act to repeal the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria Act Cap P127 of Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 and enact the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria Bill to regulate the training, practice of pharmacy and for related matters and approve clauses 1 to 62, approve clauses 63 as amended, approve clauses 64 to 72, the schedules and the explanatory memoranda and the long title for the bill. Leader, move that we adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole.
I'll take over.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I move that the House do adopt as reported in plenary. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Yes, whip.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I second that the House do adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Those say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Leader, move that we adjourn the House to Tuesday next week, 11 a.m.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable members. Ado Dogwa is the name once again, the leader of the 9th House of Representatives. And I move as directed by the Speaker that this House do adjourn to Tuesday next week to resume by 11 o'clock. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I second the motion for adjournment ably moved by the leader of the House.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. House adjourned to Tuesday next week, 11 a.m. Thank you. Your items.